Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Welcome to today's video. Today we will be talking about the latest album from Vic Mensa's side project titled 93 Punks. It's self-titled, so. This is a very interesting album. It's a very interesting album, and it's a very unique album. Let's first start off with why. Why is this so unique? Why is this so different? One thing is, you might know Vic Mensa as a rapper. And that's the case, yes. He was a 2014 XXL freshman, if I remember correctly. He also made several albums. And despite his last name, he's not that bright of an individual. He certainly has talent. And I'm not going to tell him and his fan base that he doesn't. I cannot deny the fact that he's a talented dude. I'll give him that. He also made this, so I kind of question his ulterior motives. For now, let's talk about why this album is weird. This is what I would describe, a pop, punk, rock, trap album. 4 different genres all merged very incoherently onto this project right here in what could be the opposite of a magnum opus, in my opinion, which is just a magnum failless. Well, from what I've heard on this album, it's complete devastation and a complete tragedy what Vic Mensa is doing to punk and to even as like a broad genre of rock. What he's doing is so bad that it just ruins everything else you've heard up until this point. The lyrics on this thing are questionable as hell. Let me just pull up the lyrics right here. Just another good excuse for inebriation. That's how I fuck myself, call it masturbation. And I shit you not, he emphasizes the word fuck. It's even capitalized on... Do you see its capitalization? It's emphasized. Whoa. It's emphasized on genius. I used to eat pills, but now I eat kale. He fails to deliver an emotional performance on this song. No prowess was even attempted on this track in particular. That is the song 3 Years Sober. However, that is not the only song that's bad on this thing. Actually, all of the songs are really bad on this thing. Take your clothes off, baby. Let me see what you got. We can have a good time if you're legal or not. Now, saying that just sounds really bad on all levels, but given the context, this is talking about the detention camps at the United States-Mexico border that keep the families of people trying to come into the United States. It's a whole process. The song is called Camp America. If you want to listen to it, feel free to listen to it. But the sarcastic tone that this track in particular has, not all tracks have a sarcastic tone, just this one, it fails to make this lyric mean something. It just sounds like you're having sex with an underage person, and that's never a good thing. Let me tell you this second verse on the first song off of this album. You'll be in witness protection if they let you back out. Now you're mumble rapping cause it's a dick in your mouth. They don't have it on Genius, but for the lyrics and fist fight, I'm pretty sure I heard what was said and uttered. Put your hands where your fists are. Put your hands where your fists are. Where are my fists in this situation? Like, do I put my hand here and then I put my hand, like, you want a turkey? Like, I don't know. Good gracious. A lot of things on this album are bad enough. But Vic Mensa just decides to completely forget about rules of punk music, music in general, and especially on the track Fist Fight, which is about fighting in a parking lot. The last leg, in the last like 20 seconds or 30 seconds of the song, is just a clusterfuck of just fist fight in the parking lot, a bunch of guitars and drums and everything. It all builds up to this flaccid ending. It's just incredible. Song I Cry Too is another stockpile of lyrics that are just beautiful. Also, what's with all of like the playground rhymes on here? When I get lonely, my heart turns a cold shade of gray. When I feel lonely, a bottle could keep me away. I cry too when nothing feels wrong. I cry too, just like you. Aw, he has feelings. Song Fine sounds like it was written by a 14-year-old who just discovered what Tumblr is and went on like the depressed tab and just kept scrolling and scrolling, and she wrote a song like 20 minutes after. It really is bad. It even gets better with the song United States of Evil, which features none other than Tom Morello. Tom Morello. The lyrics are basically just, let that bitch burn, burn the White House down. I didn't know we were the British in 1814, but I guess we are. The song Goodbye to Heartbreak is probably one of the funniest things I've heard on any album so far. It's just him saying goodbye to blank. Whatever is in the blank is something negative. As in, for example, goodbye to love, don't live here anymore. Goodbye to addiction, goodbye to violence, goodbye to pretending, goodbye to guilt, bye rape. It's so bad. But the cherry on top is when the song cuts off. It doesn't even seem like it ends. It just cuts. Goodbye to heartbreak. Goodbye to heart. The end. Like, it's literally in the middle of a song. It doesn't even sound finished. What was going through his head when he was like, this sounds like an album that I'm proud of. Let's release it. I'm having a very conflicting relationship with this album. Why? Well, the intention of this album. What's the intention of this album? Well, if it's a punk album, the intention was to have a meaningful message sent to home, or have a group of messages send, hit home or whatever, right? You have themes of politics in punk, and you have a lot of social stuff in punk music. The fact that what he is doing is trying to give a message, but the way he delivers it is as if he's doing it sarcastically. On all the songs, Camp America is just like a satire piece. The rest of them, it's as if he's trying to give literally his worst impression of a punk singer or punk rocker. It's really, really bad. The conflicting argument that I have with the two sides, here's the thing. The intention was there, but the execution was terrible. It fell right on its face, and it went even further. Every single song just seems to get worse and worse and worse and worse as you continue down this rabbit hole. 30 minutes long. I'm not complaining about the length because I'm glad it's only 30 minutes. But here's the other side. The other side of this sword. Since it was a terrible piece of music, the intention was there and the execution was poorly done, to the point where if we were basing this solely off of the execution of this type of music, I'm giving it an F- all the way to the bank. But in its execution and its poor execution, it managed to have a byproduct on accident. And that is that this album is pure comedy gold. This is some of the funniest shit I have heard in a long time on an album. I was belly laughing listening to this album, and I went to it again to make sure I'm like, what am I really feeling about this? I wanted to know what I'm feeling about this album. On one hand, it sucks, purely based off of how it was executed and the performance and everything. It's a F minus all the way to the bank. On the other hand, you have some of the funniest lyrics, some of the funniest performances, and some of the most ironic portrayals of punk I've ever seen in music. This has to be one of the worst albums I've heard this year, and being one of the funniest and best albums I've subjected myself to this year. This is a double-edged sword that has good and bad qualities to it. I really was flabbergasted just listening to this thing over and over again, getting something new out of it every time I came back. I listened to a song that I thought, man, I already know what's going to happen, and then I listened to a lyric again, and I'm like, I never even understood that until now, or I didn't even hear that in my other listen to it, and I get something new out of it every time. This is an album, in my opinion, it is so bad, it's good. And the topic of so bad it's good music has kind of started with a video I'll link down below, a great video by Mike the Snare, who described the idea of so bad it's good music very well. Like, you need to go watch the video, it'll be linked down below. But I've been toying with this idea of how can an album be bad and good at the same time? You always have examples like the Shag's philosophy of the world, where the fundamental rules and principles of music are just completely forgotten about, and it's not understood whatsoever. Someone compared this to Kid Cudi's Speeding Bullet to Heaven. The thing I have to say about that album compared to this album is that Kid Cudi's Speeding Bullet to Heaven was more of a long and arduous listen, while this was quick, simple, and straight to the point. Kid Cudi wanted to express himself in a different way than he was doing on his previous efforts. It just so happened that Speeding Bullet to Heaven was a really boring and really annoying album. Also, Logic's Supermarket comes to mind when I think about what Vic Mensa is doing. Rappers going rock or punk or whatever. Taking it back to So Bad It's Good, the concept of that, how do I differentiate this album from my personal feelings of hatred towards how punk was portrayed on this album versus my enjoyment factor of this album? Because I listened to it and I enjoyed it because it was so bad it's good. It managed to execute this style of music so poorly that it turned completely 180 degrees to being one of the funniest things I've heard, I've listened to, I've seen this year. I am conflicted. The thought of So Bad It's Good music always thinks like, okay, well, Shag's, that album was kind of cringy, it was just bad overall. Now, you might say it's so bad and it's good because of how bad it is, but I was looking for something that was bad because, well, it's bad because they didn't understand the fundamentals of what they were doing. And it's good because it's just so hilarious. And I wanted to find an album that was that. I didn't see Corey Feldman's album like that. I didn't see Lulu like that. I never saw the Shags like that. There are a good amount of albums that are considered so bad it's good, but I never really thought it was a thing. I thought it was like, oh yeah, it's bad. It's also really funny to kind of gawk at and just look at and be like, haha, it's a joke. But this right here, in my opinion, one of the worst albums I've heard this year and one of the best albums I've heard this year, simultaneously being an F minus and an A plus. That surprises me. It just shocks me that I even consider this album to be good or bad. Like, if I could just give it a 50 and call it a day, but I just feel as if a 50 doesn't give the entire thing away. I come back to this album and I love it. I go back to it again and I love it even more. It's a fantastic listen because of how bad it is. I'm enjoying this album because it executed something so poorly that it made something so hilarious. At the end of the day, this conflicting feeling just doesn't go away. It's a bad album, and it's a fantastic listen. I am surprised that I am just enjoying this whatsoever. It's just such a unique listen and experience, something that has excited me for the first time in a while. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts and opinion on this album down below. Let me know what albums you want me to review next, and that is it. Leave a like, comment, share, do whatever you want. 93 Punks. Self-titled. Until next time.